I'll talk when I'm ready, Keegan.
See, that's why.
Also, I know Jedi has this fear of dead air. Like, just because I know as soon as it goes dead, his heart just starts like just asking. All right, so would you like that song a little better, Frank?
No.
No? Okay. Discussion over about Childish Gambino. Next, Blackest Night. So we're moving on. Let me give you a little bit. Well, I'll tell you what, because I'm always having to talk on this show. Why don't you tell us what you know about Blackest Night? Now, I was going to say first off, and then I was going to do exactly what I just asked you to do.
Yeah. So, only off. Anyways, all right. Blackest Night is the DC storyline before this 52 change that just happened a month or so ago. It involves the Green Lantern Corps, and basically, you know, there's a full spectrum of colors in the rainbow, and that's what I guess their powers are based on. But so there's green light, white light, etc., and black light that eventually comes into play in this.
Frank looks like he has something funny to say.
It's the power of death.
No, I was just going to say, in light of that Captain Planet video that we just saw, there's a Captain Planet reference in the middle of Blackest Night. Like, they're all, like, combining their ring powers to do one specific thing. That. And one of them turns to the other and just kind of goes, this reminds me of the Saturday morning cartoon.
Yeah, I remember that, and I really actually did laugh out loud at a comic book, because it's like, you got it. And they also made like a Power Ranger reference in there too, like
really?
You're making me the Rainbow Ranger or something like that.
Yeah.
Huh.
But they had a lot of really funny references to balance out the fact that the dead were coming to life across the universe and killing everybody.
Actually, if you notice, you're actually wrong on that. It's only Earth.
No, it's not.
It's
the universe.
It's because Geoff Johns even made a point of specifically saying that they were going to keep it just to Earth to not make the story too big.
Right. The story takes place just on Earth, but the warning is that the warning that they all receive is that all the dead throughout all the universe are coming to Earth, and they question about why that is. And that's how they get
because
into the white light,
which we won't go.
Yeah.
In the DC
we
universe,
can't talk about why the white light exists or why Earth is important.
Yeah.
But the first reason you hear is a lie if you do read.
Yeah, if you do know any of the Green Lantern or the Guardians on Oa. But, okay, I'll give you a little bit of another take. This is DC for a long time. Anytime they had basically DC, like every other large group, has a what they call a universe, or basically the larger continuity that all the characters adhere to. The problem is, when you got 30 writers writing different stories, no matter how well you try to keep canonizing stuff, eventually everybody's story is going to start breaking apart and they're going to get on different timelines. So what DC's solution...
I can argue that.
Okay, go ahead.
The studio that Robert Kirkman writes for, he did The Walking Dead, Invincible.
Mm-hmm.
They have maintained a single timeline across all of their, I guess,
now they're smaller though too, aren't they? That may be the one.
No, they're all. I mean.
No, I mean as a smaller company, so they have less stories. Where DC has like what 200 titles.
Yeah, they're
now?
not Marvel or DC. They're much smaller. But you know, it's Spawn, Dragon, Invincible, and a bunch of other ones in there. They have a few other titles. I don't read a lot of them.
Double non-irregardless. Okay.
Nice.
DC, it goes back to making it. Okay, well, the way DC dealt with their problem was that they would always have these crises. So, Infinite Crises, Crises on Earth, was it Final Crises?
Infinite Crises. They've had like 4 or 5 different restructurings before the 52.
Right, and the idea is that, 0 Hour, and the idea is that there's some calamity in the DC universe that happens. It's very, self-aware and kind of meta, but there's some calamity that happens in the DC universe that destroys or resets the universe in almost a way that's kind of a cheat, in the sense that even in the story, the universe gets destroyed and it restarts, and these are the new things. So it's just as easy as destroying something, just like saying, well, it's the end of the book, it's the next book.
I don't think of it as kind of a cheat. I think it is a cheat.
Okay, good, because once I saw Blackest Night, that it essentially does the same thing, but doesn't have to hit the reset button. It's almost like...
not a full reset.
Right, exactly. Well, to me, it's almost like, instead of hitting, almost you're about to die in a video game, and you hit the reset button before the character kills you, it's almost like the character, you find a way to fight back right at the end. It's more like, the hero finds his last bit of courage and revamps up to his power, and that's more like what Green Lantern, what the Blackest Night was. So, essentially, it's the story that... It begins with, first of all, I guess, I don't know if you know this or not, Frank, but right before this happened, they brought back the Flash. Barry Allen was dead as a character. Wally West had taken over the Flash. Also, Hal Jordan had been killed off as well. So Green Lantern and Flash, which had always been friends, even since their original writing, the old Green Lantern and Flash have always been friends. So they're both killed off, and they both get resurrected. And this Zero issue we saw just a second ago starts with them in a graveyard. And here's the thing is, this is also right after they've been brought back, this is when Batman has been killed off. Bruce Wayne is dead. So,
but he gets better.
Right, he gets better.
Well, I don't know how he gets better exactly because I haven't seen,
I haven't
read Brightest Day, but Darkest Night leaves off with you believing that potentially he never died.
Right, and that's the thing. Eventually you find out, if you care, the Return of Bruce Wayne is another story that kind of builds into it, but essentially Darkseid shot him with the Omega beams. It throws him back in time, and Batman is being forced to run through time at a very quick rate, and that's the story of Batman Returns, which is a whole, or the Return of Bruce Wayne is how Bruce Wayne goes from being a caveman as Bruce Wayne all the way up to retaking the mantle of Batman. But to all the characters in the universe, as far as they know, Batman's dead. He was destroyed by Darkseid at the end of Final Crises. And what's interesting is Geoff Johns, the writer who wrote and created Blackest Night, was one of the writers on Final Crises. He was one of the main writers, and he always felt that was a cheat. And he didn't like doing it that way. And so when he was kind of put more in charge, and they wanted to restructure the DC universe, he had to find another way without hitting the reset button, to get all the characters back that he wanted and to kill off characters they didn't want and to repair up certain characters. So the idea in Blackest Night is now that these two, Hal Jordan, Green Lantern, and Barry Allen, the Flash, are brought back to life, they're wondering, is that possible for Batman to be brought back to life? Is Bruce Wayne dead? And that's kind of where they dig up the skull of Bruce Wayne, the Black Lantern does, or Black Hand does, and they start tying in some stories that Geoff Johns has been working years to establish with William Hand and stuff like that. And it's, so instead of just Batman coming back, here it is. I love this shot, by the way. This is Black Hand licking the skull of Bruce Wayne.
Yeah.
Do what?
Black Mask.
No, Black Hand.
Oh, is that him?
Yeah, that's Black Hand. William Hand from the Hand mortuary.
Black Mask has the burnt mask.
There you go. Yeah. And so the idea is if he can bring back Bruce Wayne, all these other people can get resurrected, and they get their lives back. That doesn't really seem fair to Black Hand. So why can't they bring... So anyway, some unbeknownst force through Black Hand begins sending out, if you know anything about the universe, the Green Lantern universe, they have the green power rings. And that uses willpower. Well, some of the other cores have been established. That there's a Red Lantern core, and the Star Sapphires, which get called later the Violet core. And stuff
there's
like that.
Hope, Love.
And Love is the most dangerous
rage,
one.
Avarice, fear, willpower, love, compassion. Oh, I'm sorry. No, hope, compassion, love. Yeah, I think that was the order it goes in. And those are all the different types of emotions that can be taken to extremes, and each one has their own ring color.
With willpower being kind of in the middle of
it. Right, and willpower is the balance, because on the left side, with the warm colors, it's all the rage and fear and the guttural ones, and on the right side, it's what's supposed to be the happy ones. But obviously, hope can be a bad thing. Love can be a bad thing taken to extremes. So willpower is supposed to be that balancing force. Well, the thing is, you can, it only works as a balancing force if you view them as against each other. So what I thought Geoff Johns did a great job in is by introducing the color black, which negates all of those. Now you have to unify all the colors, because that becomes the anti-death. It doesn't matter if love is bad or good. At least you're not dead. It doesn't matter if rage is good or bad, or fear is good or bad. You'd rather have fear than not exist. Right. So the Black Lanterns start representing. So when the two characters get illegitimately brought back, Black Hand thinks that's not fair. They don't get to come back, and all these other people have stayed dead forever in the DC universe. So the black rings start raining down from outer space onto the planets, and they start resurrecting the corpses of all the greatest superheroes that have died over the years, with the exception of one notable character, Dawn Hall. Do you remember that?
No.
Okay, Frank, do you remember in in issue 2, it's all the rings are raining down, and it lands on Hawk and Dove, the two characters used to be the avatars of peace and war.
Oh, yeah, and Dove doesn't come back.
And Dove doesn't come back. Of all the DC characters, only one character doesn't accept the ring, or the ring is not allowed to touch his grave. There was a force field that it keeps flinging the ring off, because Dove is at peace. Don Hill doesn't want to come back. He doesn't have anything to come back for. In death, he's fine. And so he's the one character that doesn't get resurrected in the DC universe. Now, what happens is the Black Lanterns begin killing people, and not just killing people. What they try to do is get you to an emotional point, using any of the other emotional spectrums. And the reason they're coming back as people that you've known is that you're going to have an emotional attachment to these people. So it's not just that Hawk comes back and he's a zombie flying around.
Right.
It's Hawk, the guy you knew, Hank Hill, that's a weird one that he has that name.
Yeah,
but,
that is strange.
But it's because other characters are going to love him or hate him or fear him. And right at the moment of the highest emotional impact on the person, they pull out the person's heart.
Yeah.
And the rings power up by 1%.
Right. And in fact, that was the whole reason for supposedly, I'm saying supposedly because of a very specific line in Blackest Night, but supposedly bringing back Bruce Wayne. The reason for doing that was there were certain characters that there was no other way of getting to them and getting them to re-die and come over to the black side of the Force, essentially.
Right, exactly. And that's one of the things that was great is just like a zombie flick, if they touch you, you're one of them.
Right.
But it's the sense that they do have to kill you off and that the rings charge up on that. And so that you don't quite know at first why the rings are charging. The more characters or the more superheroes that died, the stronger the rings become, and therefore the stronger the Black Lantern and the Black Lantern Corps becomes. Because essentially, it's an army of dead or undead coming to reclaim the living and put everybody onto their side.
Right, but that premise bugs me.
Go ahead.
Because if every superhero you kill manages to charge it up, why isn't when every person you kill charges it up? I mean,
well, only because remember they
a couple billion people here on Earth, so
they only went for, and that I think Geoff Johns explained that in like the director's cut of issue 1 is that they decided that they would only go after the heroes because that's who they wanted to convert. The normal people, the non-metas, they didn't care about.
Okay, I never read that.
Which is something that's ignored. In fact, one of the things in the director's cut, Frank, I don't know if you know this or not, but in comic books they actually do release director's cuts. I know that sounds so ridiculous, but I'll show it to you tonight. They show some of the panels and they actually have commentaries running beside the panels. Yeah. But there's a group that Booster Gold, my favorite guy, had to deal with, and it was the Rainbow Group, and it's a group of thieves. And oddly enough, there's the red guy, the orange guy, the yellow guy, the green guy, and there's 7 people that are thieves, and they want to become part of the Black Lanterns because they're nobodies in the DC universe. They had a story like in the 80s and then like one in the 90s, and nobody gives a rat's ass about these people. So they all, what's interesting is they all stand around and drink poison. And this was in like issue 2 or 3, and they cut it, but it's in the director's cut. And they all drink poison and they die. And none of them get resurrected at all. And then that explains why it's only certain people that come back, because as Barry Allen, is giving that transmission to everybody later, calling all the superheroes, there's a line that says, apparently it's only the people that matter to us. And Geoff Johns' point was like, we're not going to bring back characters just because we can. Right. If nobody gives a shit about them, we're not bringing them into the Black Lantern Corps. And so I like that those characters just die. And that also shows that if they're not a meta, if they're not a superhuman, the Black Lanterns either don't care or they're going to kill them and they're going to die because they're not emotionally tied to the people that they want to bring over to the Corps. Right. And I wish they hadn't cut that because to me that actually explained
I agree
a lot.
Yeah, if I had read that, a lot of things would have made more sense.
Well, I'll give you that when we go home.
Yeah.
I was just going to say, I guess we should tease, because Jedi's always on me about teasing for what's coming up on the next couple of shows. You can look forward to, audience, you're welcome, you're going to look forward to, Jay and I are going to go home tonight, and we're going to clean the refrigerator, and Frank's going to tape it. Yes. And we're going to cut together. So next week you'll get to watch the segment, Del and his roommate clean the fridge. Well, dude, come on in, I'm telling you.
It's going to be wild.
It's not like there's not going to be heavy booze drinking while we get... The refrigerator is at least like bigger than this, right? So we're going to have drinks upon drinks to make sure we can get through